The justice system, designed to protect the vulnerable and uphold the law, is crumbling under the weight of its own failures. The innocent suffer, while the guilty walk away untouched, laughing at the very law they break. The accused become the victim, while the victim turn into the accused. Is this what true freedom and justice look like? The system is broken, corrupted by those who manipulate it for their own gain. But who is responsible for this decay? And why should we care? The truth is, you might not notice the cracks until the injustice touches your doorstep. In a major unassuming town in Africa called Inde, lived a family known by everyone but few dared to cross. The Adiza family was rich and powerful, with influence that reached into the highest corridors of government. Mr. Adiza was a wealthy politician and an oil tycoon, known for his sharp mind and ruthless tactics. His wife, Mrs. Adiza, was a lawyer, feared in the courtroom for her cunning and ability to twist the law to her advantage. Together, they had three children: Kola, the elder son; Bayo, the younger son; and Samara, their daughter. Despite their polished appearances, the Adizes were involved in dubious dealings that no one dared to question. Their wealth was built on the backs of the poor, and their influence was used to silence anyone who might expose their wrongdoings. If you dare them, you disappear into the night. In the same town lived a boy named Tunde. Tunde came from a poor family, struggling to survive each day. His father was a small-time farmer, and his mother sold vegetables at the market. They didn't have much, but they had dreams, and Tunde's dream was to become a footballer. Every day after school, Tunde would rush to the football field with his best friend, Mante. They would play until the sun dipped below the horizon, imagining themselves as stars on the world stage. Football was more than a game to Tunde. It was his hope, his way out of poverty. One day, as Tunde and Mante played with a group of boys on the field, Kola Adiza arrived. Kola was arrogant and used to getting whatever he wanted. He joined the game, but soon noticed Tunde. With a sneer, he demanded, "Why is this boy playing with us? He doesn't belong here. He's just a poor nobody." The coach, a kind-hearted man, intervened. "Football is for everyone, Kola. It doesn't matter if you are rich or poor. On this field, we are all equal." Kola didn't like being challenged. He glared at Tunde with cold, hateful eyes and stormed off. That evening, as Tunde and Mante walked home, laughing and talking about their game, they were suddenly ambushed. Kola and his friends jumped out from the shadows and attacked Tunde with such cruelty that Mante was paralyzed with fear. They beat Tunde mercilessly with whatever they had in their hands, leaving him seriously injured with broken arms. A taxi driver passing by saw the attack and rushed to help. He managed to scare off Kola and his friends, who laughed as they fled, leaving Tunde battered and unconscious. The driver quickly took Tunde to the hospital, where his life hung by a thread. Tunde's family was devastated. They could barely afford to put food on the table, let alone pay for the surgeries Tunde needed. The family decided to seek justice and took the matter to court. They had witnesses, the taxi driver and Mante, who saw everything. But in Inde, justice was not for the poor. The Adiza family's influence was too strong. Mrs. Adiza used every trick in the book to delay the case, threatened the witnesses and their families, and manipulated the legal system. The case dragged on for years. until it finally died a quiet death, buried under piles of paperwork and corruption. Tunde's family received no compensation and no one was held accountable. Years passed, and Kola and his siblings graduated from the best universities, ready to take over their parents' empire. Kola took charge of his father's oil business, Bayo ventured into real estate, and Samara followed her mother's footsteps, becoming a lawyer. There were still cases and rumors of abuse and fraudulent business activities by the Adiza family. Mr. Adiza and his eldest son sexually assaulted their maid in their own home, but she couldn't speak out. Mrs. Adiza won cases for powerful drug lords and child traffickers. The law was silent. The young son, Bayo, was involved in money laundering businesses and other unscrupulous activities. Who dared to question him? And the youngest daughter, oh my, her attitude was something else. One fateful day, Kola hosted a grand party at a luxurious hotel. The party was filled with laughter, music, and wealth on display. Among the guests was a young woman named Amina. She was beautiful and full of life, but by the end of the night, her life would be changed forever. Kola and his friends, drunk on alcohol and power, sexually assaulted Amina in a secluded room, leaving her broken and fighting for her life. Fortunately, a hotel attendant found her in time and rushed her to the hospital. Amina was traumatized and struggled to remember the faces of her attackers, but she knew Kola was one of them. Determined to get justice, Amina and her family took the matter to court. The Adiza family once again tried to bury the case. They used their power and influence to threaten the hotel owner, intimidated Amina's family, and even offered large sums of money so the case may disappear. But fate had different plans. The owner of the hotel was none other than Tunde's older brother, who had never forgotten what the Adizes had done to his family. He worked hard over the years and had built a successful business. When he learned about Amina's case, he saw an opportunity to finally bring the Adizes to justice. Unknown to the Adiza family, Tunde had been taken abroad by a businessman. This man had helped Tunde recover, and with his support, Tunde went on to study law in the UK. Now a qualified lawyer, Tunde returned to Inde to represent Amina in court. The trial was grueling. The Adizes pulled every string, used every connection, and tried every tactics to win. But this time, they were up against someone who knew them too well. Tunde was relentless, presenting the evidence with precision and skills. The courtroom was filled with tension as the truth slowly unraveled. The Adizes tried to strike a deal, offering money and pleading for mercy, but Tunde refused. This wasn't just about Amina, it was justice for all the wrongs the Adiza family had committed. It is a call to everyone to stand up for what is right, to support those who are fighting for justice, and to hold accountable those who believe they are above the law. After months of battle, the truth prevailed. Kola and his friends were found guilty of the assault. The court sentenced Kola to 20 years imprisonment, a decision that sent shockwaves through Inde. The once untouchable Adiza family was now the subject of shame and scandal. But the story didn't end there. Tunde had carried the weight of his past for far too long, and now, with the strength of a seasoned lawyer and the resources at his disposal, he decided it was time to seek justice. The incident from 13 years ago, where Kola and his friends had brutally assaulted him, leaving him with severe injuries and lasting trauma. Was a wound that had never truly healed. This time, however, Tunde was not the scarce, powerless boy he once was. He had become a force to reckon with, and he was determined to see justice served. With determination in his heart, Tunde reopened his case, bringing the long buried truth to light. The courtroom was tense as he presented his evidence, recounting the nights that had changed his life forever. Witnesses who had once been too afraid to speak out now came forward, their testimonies bolstered by Tunde's courage. The truth was undeniable, and the evidence was overwhelming. The court found Kola guilty of the assault on Tunde, and the judge didn't hesitate to add several more years to Kola's already significant sentence. The same law enforcement agencies that had once turned a blind eye to their misdeeds now began to scrutinize every aspect of the Adiza family's businesses. It didn't take long for the investigators to uncover a web of corruption, fraud, and illegal activities that had spanned on for years. The authorities moved swiftly, freezing the family's accounts and seizing their assets. Their once thriving business began to collapse under the weight of their own corruption, and soon the Adiza name became synonymous with scandals and disgrace. No one in India wanted to associate themselves with the Adizas any longer. Business partners and allies distanced themselves, unwilling to be dragged down with a sinking ship. The empire that had once seemed unshakable was now in ruins, and the Adizes were sentenced to 20 years imprisonment. This story is not just about one man's quest for justice, it's a broader commentary on the nature of power, the importance of integrity, and the need for a just and fair society. In the end, justice may be delayed, but it cannot be denied. The truth, when it finally emerges, has the power to bring down even the mightiest of foes.